Welcome back, Dota 2 fans. Game 2, grand final, best of 5 ESL One Hamburg North American qualifiers. VGJ.Storm taking on Evil Geniuses. Evil Geniuses able to accrue a very significant lead coming out of the early mid game, but kind of methodically and systematically so, taking their time in the mid game. They didn't have a lineup that necessarily pushed buildings with force, so a very patient breach of the VGJ base.
So I think the thing that VG.Storm have to focus most right now is actually just the early game. So making sure that Evil Geniuses don't get off to that great start they had in game 1. And I think that 5th pick, Monkey King on Evil Geniuses, gave them the tools necessary to just win the early game. I mean, Universe kind of got sacked in the bottom lane, but he got exactly what he wanted, which was just levels, right? Although he gave up a death, his team was doing more than okay in the other 2 lanes, and I think that was the advantage that Evil Geniuses really rode to get to the mid game. And so if you're VGJ.Storm, you're thinking more about lane matchups this game. They're banning the puck, which I think teamswill is amazing at, right? So you don't want them to get that again, and so they ban it out. But also, I think one of the glaring issues of VGJ.Storm's early game was that they actually didn't have kill potential on mid or top. And so Venomancer for snaking is one of those heroes that sort of is designed to get sacrificed. Like, as long as Venomancer gets his levels, he can operate in the game. And really having Francis up there didn't assist the lane, so maybe there was something they could have done in order to make that lane better, like maybe Fisher block the creeps or just do a better job of not taking too much damage. But by the 5-minute mark, VGJ.Storm had lost 2 lanes, and Evil Geniuses were too far ahead for VGJ.Storm to make any big moves. But looks like there's a big shift this game. I mean, VGJ.Storm, instead of banning the Spirit Breaker, they banned the puck, and as a result, EG, they get Spirit Breaker, which I think is one of their most picked heroes in the last week.
Yeah, definitely so. So, still allows them to be a force in the early game. Still allows them to gain momentum on the lanes. Does the Spirit Breaker, but as you mentioned, Stanking with a much larger focus on the lanes here is gonna remove one of teamswill's most comfortable heroes when he's left alone in the puck, and it's also gonna pick up the Lich to ensure that just passively they gain.
I would argue that this is actually the highest win rate opener for VGJ.Storm, the Lich Earth Spirit. I mean, Lich, Stanking literally has a 100% win rate on Lich right now across 4 games in the last week, which is quite high, and 100% win rate is a very big win rate. So I think this is perfect for VGJ.Storm because Stan gets the Lich and Francis gets the Earth Spirit, and I think Francis excels at heroes that have kill potential in the early game, but also heroes that allow him to do the initiating on for his team. And we've seen him do some pretty crazy stuff with the Earth Spirit, so I'm looking forward to seeing whether or not VGJ.Storm fare a little bit better in this game. But EG themselves, they also get the heroes they want. I mean, I'm not... If the teams think that the Puck Veno is more deadly on EG and that the Earthshaker Night Stalker is more deadly on VG.Storm, but it certainly seems like both of these teams got the openers that they wanted, so should be a pretty exciting match for game 2.
I mean, even with an absolute brutal beginning game, we saw Flea have some major influence.
You see a Broodmother ban coming out from VG.Storm. Broodmother is one of those weird heroes. Like, you don't want to play against her, but at the same time, you're not sure if the enemy team wants to pick her or if you yourself will have any answers to the Broodmother. But certainly Broodmother would be good against VG.Storm's lineup because they don't have any... Neither of these heroes really deal with her particularly well, and especially Lich, who doesn't want to rotate. And the only way you really kill the Broodmother is if you rotate both of your supports, or at least one of your supports. And so that makes Lich not equipped to deal with the Broodmother. So pretty good ban coming out from Stanking.
Definitely feel like Stanking has in mind EG Clinks, something they run often with this kind of global presence lineup. It's a Diffusal Blade builder who's rather self-sufficient.
You still with me, sir?
in lane.
Or is my mic not working anymore?
I don't believe your headset is working.
All right, I will continue. So, anti-mage ban from VG.Storm. Evil Geniuses, they have picked the anti-mage a lot in the past couple of qualifiers, and it has worked for them with RTZ on it. And he's just one of those heroes that he has a timing, and he's sort of hard to deal with in certain scenarios. And Earth Spirit and Lich, they don't really do well against the split push of the anti-mage. Usually there's like 3 ways to deal with anti-mage. Either you're able to shut him down in the early game, you're either able to fight into him in the late game, or you can just counter his split push entirely by having more split push than him so that he can't do his job in the game.
Hello?
As a result.
I don't think Franz can hear me, guys. Good old 2017 technical difficulties. Yes. Franz typing to me now. Let's see if his headset is dead. That USB mixer really serving him well this morning, I suppose. But yeah, just earlier on was going to be the point that we saw Francis Lee make some absolute majorly impactful plays on his Earthshaker, even with a brutal start, and now equipped with his signature Earth Spirit, should have a lot more influence on this early game. However, just wanted to flag the possibility for the Clinks here for EG. It's a Diffusal Blade builder, it's a good self-sufficient laner, and it combos very nicely with the Spirit Breaker. We saw EG use it to great effect against Complexity yesterday in the semifinal.
All right, so I'm continuing to have electrical issues, but
Sunday,
Yeah, Sunday.
It was a rough weekend for you.
I'm not sure where my mic cut off, so...
Well, your mic never cut out. No, your mic never cut out. You just couldn't hear what I was saying.
Okay. Interesting.
Spirit Breaker Jakiro, Franz. Nothing we haven't seen before, but this time, it's not the support duo for EG. We usually
so Jakiro, sort of a hit or miss hero. I mean, this hero excels at 2 things. He excels in the early game, sort of this. He's a really good lane enforcer because he trades hits really well. His nukes are really strong in the early game, and he also helps his team take towers or do a ton of tower damage. And so this hero is a little bit versatile. The only time I think Jakiro suffers is if you're playing from behind and you're not able to use that liquid fire to capitalize on towers. And the hero also kind of lacks disables in the early game just because you don't skill up that, or people don't usually skill up the ice path early on, and early levels of ice path are kind of bad, and so he doesn't help your team get pickoffs unless you have heroes like Spirit Breaker to set up for him. So we'll see if EEG can make this work in the early game, because I certainly think Jakiro is one of the best heroes at snowballing. Him and Shadow Shaman, just because supports aren't usually equipped to push as effectively as Jakiro and Shadow Shaman can.
Okay, so the Mirana pickup from VGJ.Storm.
Yeah, Mirana's a really solid laner. I mean, she doesn't have the highest base damage, but she also doesn't die in her lanes. And when you combine it with an Earth Spirit, it actually gives VGJ.Storm a little bit of kill potential on the enemy mid, right? You have the Earth Spirit roll in, followed up by an arrow. And I think that's one of the things that VGJ.Storm were missing with their lineup last game, which is that they didn't have any kill potential on the puck. So Francis didn't have any options in the early game. He was pretty much stuck top, and that was just a losing lane for them. So I feel like this game VGJ.Storm should be able to get a lot more done in the early game, especially when you combine that with a Darkseer. So this game, Francis has a lot of options for lanes he can go to.
Yep, it does have the Ion Shell to throw on him. You can either TP to another lane or look to disrupt that EG safe lane. Is this a quasi-solution to the Jakiro and maybe his intention to push here? Is that Ion Shell constantly shoving out the wave? I mean, presumably you may see the Jakiro mid, but if the Darkseer is up against him in lane, kind of a solution to that push?
Yeah, it's kind of a solution, and I feel like maybe Snake King thinks that Darkseer as a hero does well against Jakiro, and he's probably not wrong in that. Or I'm probably not wrong in that assessment, because Jakiro doesn't have any stuns. He only has slows, which doesn't do anything to the surge. So Darkseer is a little bit of a tough kill for Jakiro. But also Jakiro doesn't have any mechanics to deal with the Ion Shell. You can sort of dual breath and liquid fire the wave, but you can only do that so much since the mana cost of liquid fire, or the mana cost of dual breath, is so high. And EG, they respond with a Lone Druid, which is a pretty cool pick. I mean, there's 2 ways, I think, to deal with Lone Druid, or 3 ways, rather. probably specifically two ways. So either you shut him and his team down in the early game, and then the hero never catches up, right? Because he doesn't really farm quickly without items. And the other way is just to have a lot of heroes that pile up on top of the lone druid, so that the lone druid can't really be effective in fights. And so I think EG probably sensing that VGJ.Storm don't really have heroes that jump on top of him. Like the Mirana's not going to do it. Darkseer or Spirit Lich, they don't really have enough damage to kill the main hero of Lone Druid. And so Fear probably seeing a little bit of an opening for. And so for the final pick of Evil Geniuses, they should probably look for a mid hero, assuming that this Lone Druid isn't mid, that makes space for the 4 heroes on EG.
They have some decent front line for the push. They also have the Liquid Fire to slow down the tower. But definitely could use someone to jump in addition to this Spirit Breaker. We'll see the Queen of Pain ban come out. Of course, we saw the Puck ban early on. It's going to be the Nyx Assassin, actually, where Evil is here. So core Nyx, core Jakiro for this EG.
Would have an interesting lineup coming from EG. I bet it's a mid Jakiro, actually. And I think some players have been theory crafting it. Probably have seen it before, but basically Jakiro's like super tanky, and he has a lot of lane presence when he starts picking up levels, just because he does so much damage to towers. The only problem is you end up with a mid Jakiro and the actually offlane Jakiro.
Yeah, so
is this game not ticketed? The names aren't.
Yeah.
Sumail playing the Nyx, so I mean Nyx is a pretty good mid laner, right? He's hard to bully out of a lane. He's just naturally tanky, has naturally high health regen. So he also buys a poor man shield, which is really effective against Mirana, because Mirana doesn't have high base damage.
So is there a potential for them to put Ritsu mid on this lifestealer? He's got a pretty good matchup against the Nyx.
Yeah, it's a good matchup, but at the same time, it depends on what they're comfortable with, right? I'm sure Ritsu is more than capable of playing mid, but I think that the lane matchups don't really warrant a lane swap, especially because the Nyx Assassin doesn't like dumpster the Mirana, so there's really no threat there. I mean, if Mirana was in a totally losing lane matchup, then maybe you would consider a lane swap, but it seems fairly break even for that. And you also want the lifestealer to be matched up against the potential offlane Jakiro.
We'll see if there's any shenanigans as far as hero player swaps going into the game, but for the time being, be set. Where do you expect the Lich to be early?
I think the Lich will probably be mid. I think shutting down Sumail should be a high priority for VGJ.Storm, just because Nyx is going to be sort of the space-making hero / initiator for Evil Geniuses. So we have possible remake coming in. If I'm reading the
probably because there's no ticket, I suppose.
Yes. A little bit of bants happening.
Alrighty. We'll be back. There's chat.
A little bit of bants. I love it.
The player is always very pleased with these kind of scenarios.
You hype yourself up after the draft. You know, there's that pre-game prep talk, and then suddenly...
Okay, we get to see the animation of the picks again, right? That's always fun.
Always a pleasure.
But it definitely feels like Vici. I mean, it's not that at all the drafts look skew in the first game, but it definitely feels like Vici are very comfortable in these lanes as compared to.
Yeah, I think this is a similar situation to the game 1 they had against DC yesterday, where hopefully they learned from the game 1. I mean, in game 1 of VG.Storm versus DC, it definitely felt like DC had the lane advantage. And whenever you have the lane advantage, it's just so much easier to win the game, because everything's in your favor in the early game, and then because the enemy team is behind, because VG.Storm was behind, it made it harder for VG.Storm to make any moves. So EG was more comfortable just farming more parts of the map and getting more out of the map. And so in game 1, we saw EG easily overtake VG.Storm. I hope I joined your broadcast channel before it started.
I heard that pause in your voice there. Well, you and me both, brother. If not, I'm gonna have to watch in game, unfortunately.
Earth Spirit.
I'm in. That means I'm in your broadcast channel, right?
Not necessarily. You could be just a random spectator, but
Spirit Breaker.
meh.
It's GG.
It's GG.
We'll find out. Someone will complain.
Oh yeah.
That game started.
I'll get a tweet about it. No worries there.
Game started in a hurry.
So they lose strategy time. I wonder if that has any effect on this real early set of TP out, because they can't pre-buy items here.
Can you not?
I guess you can in AP, but unless you're like last pick or so.
Holy crap! These teams are coming out of their fountain quickly, dude. They're in a hurry to get this this early game over. Those TPs felt like they came out faster than normal, man. We have VG.Storm putting down 2 wards, 2 interesting wards actually. So one of them blocks the camp. This one's pretty standard. This one, the right ward for VG.Storm in the right side of the dire jungle. This one's a little bit curious to me. I wonder what it's attempting to spot out. My guess is that they want to see if there's any movement coming from the enemy supports, but could have been an interesting placement for that. We'll see if that actually ends up seeing anyone on Evil Geniuses.
Yeah, so it does look like the lane matchup so you expected. Sumail is going to take towards the mid on a Nyx Assassin, and we will have the aggressively postured Jakiro in the off lane. Fleet in a great position to pop this smoke, and should do so momentarily, unless EG able to make it just out of range. They are. Towards this bounty rune. Crit. Hasn't skilled the charge just yet, but will now. Chilling Touch is there. They'll get right in the face of Snake King. They get the slow off with the Chilling Touch. Well, they'll force him to skill Surge, and he will draw. That is a big detriment to the laning stage for the Darkseer, as Universe picks up the bounty rune. It'll be a 3-for-1 bounty rune trade for the Evil Geniuses side, and the first blood added by that trio.
It's a massive detriment, right? He has to start with Surge now, and maybe it's not necessary. I mean, now that he has Surge, if EG do a good job of zoning out the Darkseer, there's nothing that Snake King can do to sort of manage this lane. But the one thing VG.Storm have going for them is that they're going to win this mid lane by default, right? Just because of the ledge. So, I mean, EG, they decide to go with this aggro dual lane.
Flea going to be scouted as well here by the EG ward. They should be well aware of his presence in this bottom lane. And for the time being, it is kind of the 1v1. Lifestealer's got a pretty good matchup against Lone Druid, as the Feast scales nicely against the raw health of that bear. But it seems like Stan King has made his way over to the top lane now to try and help out his Lifestealer. But just a small early advantage in the mid lane, 4-7-4-7, although Sumail, though, last hitting very well.
Spoil that shot.
Yeah, Sumail should be more than okay in this lane now that Stan King is a 10, and maybe Stan King decided that it's more important to shut down this Lone Druid than the Nyx, and so he rotated top. The biggest problem for VG.Storm right now is that this Darkseer is still level 1, but it looks like he'll hit level 2 soon with a big creep wave coming towards his tower, and that should give VG.Storm sort of an opening.
Oh, Universe rolling in. Flea's already used his Rolling Boulder. They get the charge off. Dual Breath is there as well, and the Liquid Fire connects. He's going to be surged up. And will tick low, but not down. And as you mentioned, the Ion Shell now secured by Snaking. It'll get a lot easier in this lane going forward. Arteezy taking some punishment top.
Gold for me.
Looks like that'll be all she wrote for now. Is he missing a bear? He has a summon. But for now,
Illusion.
he sent his bear to do the bounty rune relay.
Hell yeah. I mean, I don't think the bear died just because the it doesn't look like the life stealer has plus 300 gold from anything. So looks like Sumail is winning the 1v1 matchup mid again. Actually, there's a charge coming out, and there's a mana burn on Sumail, so he can cancel
There
this,
is a
this leap.
leap. Oh, and he gets the bash, but Sumail just not there
Don't waste
in time. It will be more than a nuisance here. Nothing being ferried out just yet for 747, so he is a bit susceptible to another rotation in this lane. And Crit up on the high ground. Daytime, they should have vision. Here comes the charge down. Mana burn is there, and that'll be the kill. But perhaps a bit of oversight from 747 sticking around in that lane, and he'll be punished.
That was a good move by Crit as well. Maybe just a little bit greedy from 747. I mean, you never really want to get knocked out of the lane, and that was probably part of his decision making for staying in the lane. And Crit actually made a wise decision of leaving bottom, because now that this Darkseer is level 3, there's really not much that he and Nojikiro can do together to kill this Darkseer. So Crit manages to net a kill in the mid lane, which is great for him. And Francis moves up to the top lane.
And they've done a decent amount to this Darkseer early on. I mean, Universe has 9 denies on the Jakiro, so they got more than you would expect them to get on paper against the DS in lane, and obviously mostly by virtue of him losing that first blood and skilling up the Surge. Charge going in mid lane once again. Sumail pretty low in as far as the mana department goes, so unlikely that they net a kill here without some very fortunate bashes or maybe a Spike Carapace.
Multiple things to look at right now.
Crit coming in mid, needs a bash. Will not get it. Mana burn is there, and he'll get the bash on the second hit. 17%. Paying dividends for EG. Not sure what happened top. But
RTZ got knocked out of the lane, which is a little bit interesting. I mean, good job for VGJ for doing that. I mean, I think RTZ just feels threatened just because the Lich and the Earth Spirit were missing at the moment, so...
Yeah, he did opt for the Savage Roar level 2, so that is not all that common. So definitely speaks to your point that he feels a little bit threatened. Spike Carapace going to come out mid.
Bottom lane.
Sumail safe for now. Meanwhile, jumping forward, Crit again on it with a double damage rune active on a killing spree here. We'll put down a ward to ensure that he should be able to retreat without eating an arrow. Doesn't have the empowering haste though, and now the roll through. Oh, the charge just in the nick of time. Boulder smash does connect, and they are aware that it has. Crit has a TP. He's gonna go for it, and he's gonna make it.
That was some big outplays from Crit happening here. I mean, every team seems to ban the Spirit Breaker first against Evil Geniuses, and I'm starting to see why. I mean, Crit's getting so much done on this Spirit Breaker. But it also seems like his team is playing around the Spirit Breaker charges really well as well, right? Like, Sumail's done a good job keeping 747 quite low in this mid lane. I mean, things aren't over for VGJ.Storm.
Yeah.
The early game is still in progress. And Ritsu's doing well enough in the top lane that I imagine if VGJ.Storm decide to make a movement in the next couple of minutes, they'll be more than successful as long as they find the right opening.
Yeah. Especially when you consider relative to RTZ, who, as you mentioned, not had the easiest time up top here, and the CS is certainly indicative of that start.
Could be an initiation happening on Universe bottom.
And mid lane as well, charge through Stand King onto 747. Crit will back away though from tower damage, and the bottom lane, as you mentioned, double Ion Shell up on the Jakiro, and doesn't have any spells to cast, so we'll just do a little bit of a chase around and end up taking a spill. Looks like maybe they shrined here. Maybe a regen rune for Sumail.
Bit of a weird matchup for Universe, because if he gets caught out of position, Jakiro doesn't have any escape mechanism, so quite a nice kill for VGJ.Storm there, and sort of stops the bleeding on their team, I suppose, because they are down 3 kills at the moment.
What have we here?
I think the real stories of this game so far is just the lead that Sumail has on 747 in the mid lane. I mean, this isn't an easy lane for Bottom just because Bottom doesn't really have any mechanics up top.
They're going to look to go in on Ritsu. He's going to eat into the bear, but the bear a little bit too tanky, even without a stout shield at this point. Recovers some health with the open wounds. Going to make it back. Meanwhile, bottom lane, crit. Maybe just soaking some experience. Has his tranquil boots here, so can traverse the map pretty quickly even when not using the charge. Meanwhile, mid lane, reflecting the Frost Blast is Sumail. Starstorm going to fly out from 747, keep him at bay.
Yeah, Mirana doesn't really have any mechanics that help her deal with the next assassin.
Snaking.
Shenanigans happening.
Out of
Spirit
mana
TPing
bottom.
in.
They gave him an Ion Shell as well. And Sumail could be in trouble here. They get the silence off. Nicely played by Flea. He gets the Carapace though. And the Vendetta. Oh, arrow! Oh, just short from 747 to kill him off. Looks for the Ion Shell. Not going to get it. Shrine preemptively popped by Fear. In the meantime, bottom lane, we did see Crit. And I mentioned that Snaking was out of mana. So we did see Crit kind of stalking behind the tower there. And with a charge, Macropyre and the Breathe Fire, they get the kill. Meanwhile, mid lane, they get 747 with Fear joining up with his mid laner. I suppose that was a Vendetta into a Cold Feet. Impale into Cold Feet with a couple of Chilling Touch right clicks.
Very nice exchanges for EG in the last one. I mean, Jakiro's also in his element right now, sieging this bottom tower, which is almost about to fall. And unfortunately for VGJ, they had a nice game.
We lost you there, Franz. I believe your mic has abandoned you once again. That's alright. Early game definitely going swimmingly here for Evil Geniuses. Take a look at the net worth overall, and they've accrued a 4K lead. He's going to reflect a Starstorm mid, does Sumail. He has an Impale in just a second. He's got a Vendetta Strike as well. Is he going to use it? He does not. There was the Ice Armor there. It would have been close, and now he uses it, baiting in 747. Sumail with the patience there. Or perhaps not even realizing he had it to begin with, but then executing the kill. Got killed, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter, got killed, I should say. Bash coming out on Snaking bottom. Macropyre is going to be there as well. The roll forward from Flea. He has got an Ion Shell, and the surge back onto Snaking will keep him alive. Nope, not long enough. And they'll end up trading 1-for-1 bottom lane, and they force in the Stand King rotation. Now Fear is nearby. Universe pretty much out of mana, though. But going to continue to Liquid Fire away on this tower as Sumail beats into the mid lane tower. So everything coming up EG in this early game. Top lane, Ritsu rooted up and is forced to rage here. This could leave him susceptible to the impending crit charge. And Arteezy trying to burst him down here. Does have the resummon in a second. Ritsu, no rage available. Will Arteezy chase forward? He does. Couple of right clicks. Surge is going to be there though. And Open Wounds comes in there into the vacuum. Arteezy going to be brought down. Crit in trouble too. Snake King's rotation. Wow.
You're no peer of the seer.
A big rotation from the Snake King Darkseer into the top lane, and EG will lose a couple of heroes here. In the meantime, though, with Snake King missing, they do get to tier 1 bottom, so not all negative outcomes for EG.
End up in middle.
Silence up on Sumail. And he does end up getting off the Spike Carapace once again. Flea, though, this time has the dust. And the arrow and the boulder smash will connect. Now the charge through 3 from Crit. They're going to get off the dual breath as well. Fear coming through with the chilling touch. Cold Feet is there. The bash will finish off the Lich. Now the Nether Strike coming through. Flea will drop as well. Fear a little bit deep here. 747 has an arrow available. Charge, though, going to come through. One more right click is going to be there for Crit. Crit may end up falling for this, but well worth it even if he does. Does not have the empowering haste. Going to turn for the bash, try and get it. Now he's into the trees. Will stick up. Looking for the juke. Cold Feet proc will be there, and Crit will charge away. EG as Liquid Fire takes out the tier 1 as well for Universe.
And just like in game 1, EG, they take a commanding lead in the early game. And this is actually exactly what Lone Druid as a hero needs. He needs his team to be up ahead so that he can do his job farming and taking towers. But as I say that, looks like VGJ.Storm, they're starting to group up in this top lane. I don't know if Arteezy has a ward or if he sees this coming.
Does not get the Savage Roar off in time. He will get it off onto the back line, but now Flea rolling through, gets the signs off. Boulder smashes there. Infest will finish off our tour. Sumail will get the courier and makes a retreat. A hasty one at that. Dire Vision does not see any of these heroes, and Radiant Vision similarly has nothing on the enemy, but they do get the Arteezy Lone Druid.
Yeah, very quick and effective rotation from VG.Storm managed to net them a kill on the low druid, and actually Arteezy is relatively behind the other cores in the game, so
he's actually opted for a Mask of Madness here to try and catch up. Ice Path, Macropyre, Nether Strike, gonna catch Snaking. A lot of damage, and they charge through the back line as well. Nicely played by Crit. Vacuum will be there onto Crit, and they will find the return kill. But again, big commitment in this top lane right now for VGJ. They'll end up trading
down
Crit
bottom.
and bottom. Fear.
Illusion.
Welp. He's an ancient apparition here.
Yes.
And he will end up dropping. Not sure if Fear realized the actual hero was there. But yes, like I was saying, Arteezy has opted for the Mask of Madness to try and claw his way back into this game.
I think it's just the right item on that hero now. Mask of Madness is always that item you can rely on to give you some extra...
Ooh, dust pop by Flea, but it's just out of range. It may have given them a false positive here on Sumail, but he misses the impale. Hardest skill to hit in the game. And will not be able to kill off the Air Spirit. Now he's in trouble as Spike Carapace is down, taking some big right clicks from the Lifestealer. Coming through with the leap into the arrow and the Starstorm. Ryoya will finish off Sumail. Oh, Ice Blast. Just shy of killing off Flea. As he'll be able to shrine up.
Got Ritsu hunting for a kill in the jungle. He's got an Ion Shell and Frost Armor on him. These past couple of exchanges have been good for VGJ. It doesn't quite give them the net worth lead, but it sort of closes the gap a bit. And I think the thing that EG have to focus on right now is getting Arteezy to the point where he can actually participate in these fights effectively. He's a little bit behind, not super behind. I mean, he spent the last couple of minutes during those engagements farming, so he's catching himself back right up. And Universe and Nyx astoundingly in the...
Smoke pop by Sumail. They don't have detection just yet. Stan King will now get it off, and they get the Boulder Smash, but Nether Strike flying through. Vacuum is there. Ice Blast flying from far. Hits onto 2 from Fear. Now the charge through. They're going to find Flea. Even Arteezy is joining this one. Sumail still alive, but does end up dropping. Now snaking around. They get the Eul Scepter up onto him. Macropyre, Ice Path will connect onto 2. They get the Savage Roar off as well. Snaking in a lot of trouble. He's going to drop to the last right click of Arteezy. Ritsu out by his lonesome now. Shrine is down. And they'll try to chase forward for this Lifestealer. Crit gonna find him, gets the charge off here. Respawn timers are relatively low, but 747 has no mana to get into this fight on the Mirana, and they will finish off the Lifestealer on the backlines. It's a double kill for Arteezy, who a moment ago was relatively far behind the other cores in the game, and now is pretty much at parity with the Lifestealer and even ahead of the 747 Mirana.
Yeah, it was a really good exchange for EG, and it really felt like EG were ready to take that fight. They had all 5 heroes show up to that fight at some point, and VG.Storm, they didn't feel like they had the correct response, and they got caught sort of in an odd position, and then Ritsu decided to finish the bear, so his rage was down for the escape. And overall, EG continued to press their lead.
Yeah,
Arteezy propels himself back into the game.
Maybe felt they could fight around the shrine there, but didn't have the presence of the Mirana, so that's a lot of their damage missing, and certainly reared its ugly head for VGJ.Storm's side. And as you mentioned, a little bit of a lead generated here by the EG side. 4K in the way of net worth. Take a look at experience. It's pretty much even, but VGJ.Storm with a very slight lead.
Bit of a smoke play coming up.
Has a roll available. And he's going to be infested up. Universe, not an easy target to kill as he does have the Euls. Ice Blast will connect onto 2. Flea absolutely melts. And the bear getting low here, but the Nether Strike going to keep Ritsu off of it. Savage Roar stops him as well, and he'll be brought down. Snaking in trouble. Chilling Touch right click is going to be there from Fear. Arteezy not able to bring down Stan King. And once again, 747 not present, but they're stalking him. They're going to catch him with the charge. Sumail comes through as well. He gets the impale off. Mana Burn is there. Ice Path keeps him in place. And a mega kill for Universe. We talked about this Jakiro being one of the tankier heroes on the map in this one. And having the Eul Scepter there allows him to survive. The silence from Flea has been enough, mostly in this early game, to net them kills, but up against the Eul Scepter, the Jakiro, they are punished.
I mean, Universe is making Jakiro look like a super like fast-paced hero right now. I mean, he's been in every fight. He's been super effective in every fight, and I think on that initiation from VG.Storm, it was almost like he was anticipating it, standing in that really odd position.
Snaking's been spotted top lane, and Sumail waiting for the charge, gets the mana burn off. He'll wait for the charge patiently. Ice Blast will finish off the Darkseer.
And this feels like the EG that we're used to seeing. They've had a couple of shaky series in the past couple of days, but they look extremely strong coming into game 2. 6k net worth lead at 18 minutes.
Arteezy finished up the Maelstrom and has propelled his way to the top of the net worth chart as his team, like you said, as is the intention, creating space for him in this early game. And EG with the Nyx, Jakiro, Spirit Breaker trio have just been pressing the advantage against the VGJ.Storm side ever since minute 0 with the first blood.
This Lone Druid is going to be a huge issue for VG.Storm because they don't exactly have the right tools to deal with him. Usually when you want to kill a Lone Druid, you have to be able to jump him with at least multiple heroes that can do enough damage to kill him. But this game, it's really only the Lifestealer plus Earth Spirit, and in the mid lane.
Yeah, Ice Blast gonna fly. And bringing Fear right into the fray there from EG is gonna net them a Lifestealer kill. Now Crit pressing forward for more, finds another strike, but gets silenced up by Flea. Boulder Smash comes through as well. Spike Carapace is gonna be there from Sumail, trying to stun up Flea. He won't be able to do so. And no detection around for EG side. Sentry is going to allow them to remove this vision. So for now, EG able to find more. But still, Arteezy continues to farm away. Sumail's off the... or Ritsu, excuse me, is off the map. VGJ.Storm, though, they do have the Diffusal coming out for 747. And we have not really yet seen his team fight potential.
EG are doing a much better job this game of looking for pickoffs. I think last game, we might have a fight here.
Yeah, roll forward. Arteezy, though, well positioned, afraid of that. Walking uphill there, and wisely so. He will back out with his bear in front. Top lane. Well, go on.
Unlike last game, I think EG are a little bit less afraid of VG.Storm, just because there's no Urge Trigger. Like, the teamfight potential from VG is a lot weaker than it was last game.
They're talking about EG, looking like the EG of old. Sharp movement from them. They do get the leap out on the Mirana, now chasing forward. Has the Empowering Heist, needs a bash, and will get it. First hit, Crit, presses the bash button here. Right clicks from Arteezy come through. Maelstrom proc will be there. Now looking to re-engage is Flea, but maybe he's overthought this, and he will get impaled up and brought down. Crit still surviving. Ritsu, he's out, and Rage will expire. Rooted up, brought down. Crit even still surviving for EG. The moment Universe and Crit net TP's top lane, they TP down and go for 747. Now the Ice Path is going to be there onto the Snake King Darkseer. Macropyre as well. Arteezy from the wayward side throwing through some right clicks. It'll be enough with the mana burn from Sumail. And what a movement from EG. As soon as they see TPs into the top lane, Crit TPs to the shrine, immediately charges up 747, and they are able to follow it up for the kill.
Arteezy completes his Dragonlance. Sumail's got a little bit of a strange mismatch of items in his inventory, but working on that Manta now, and it just feels like EG aren't scared of VG.Storm at all. I mean, the only combination that VG.Storm have in teamfights is like a vacuum into...
Well, they connect the roll. Spike Carapace will come out, however, and the Ice Path is going to get the, or at least keep the backlines out. Flea in trouble, gets bashed up, or charged, I should say, and he will be brought down. Sumail hits a one-man impale, trying to run away. The Ice Blast coming through, and it will at least hit the chilling effect on a few different heroes. Dual Breath going to come through as well, and it's doing a lot of damage. They will get the Nether Strike off onto Ritsu, finish him off here. 747 leaps up to the high ground. GG is called here. 21 minutes into the game. And EG looking in mid-season form in Game 2 here.
I mean, as I tried to say like twice in a row, so EG, they aren't scared of VG's teamfight at all, just because in order for VG.Storm to win a teamfight, they basically have to land like a multi-hero vacuum into Earth Spirit Stun, and as long as Snake King didn't have that blink, and as long as Evil Geniuses positioned themselves well, they could continue to go for those super aggressive plays. And unlike last game, they were actually able to close it out pretty early. think part of that is just because they have Sumail on like a much more difficult hero to kill, and also they had a lot more playmakers this game, right? You have Crit, who had an astounding start on the Spirit Breaker, able to make so much happen on the map, and Evil Geniuses, they win game 2.
10 out of 10 rating for fighting for Crit, involved in 26 of the 29 kills for his squad. And as Franz alluded to early on, this is why this Spirit Breaker has been banned away from EG so often. So both teams get the heroes that they've been most successful with in the Spirit Breaker and Lich, EG, VG, respectively. But EG the ones to come out on top in this game 2. They'll take a commanding 2-0 lead in this grand final. It is a best of 5, guys. Still a chance for VGJ to come back here. We'll be back shortly, MRP and Franz, with your game 3.